I'll give you two ways in which I think music relate deeply to apologetics. One has been inspired by the work of Jeremy Begbie, who teaches at Duke University. And Jeremy, who's a wonderful musician as well as an apologist, says that it is true that the Bible and theology help to explain music, and he does this beautifully himself. But he also says, look at it the other way around. Cannot music and the arts help to explain certain things about the Bible and about theology? So I've tried to put this into practice in a couple of ways. Let me mention two. I've done some work on the book of Revelation as understood by various composers. So Schütz and Bach and Brahms, and then up into African Americans, Blind Gary Davis, who has a wonderful song on the 12 gates around Jerusalem. And each of these has a musical insight into the significance of the passage in Revelation, which helps you to understand Revelation in a way you might not have had you not heard the music. Schütz has a marvelous piece where he does, "And their works shall follow them. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord." And it's clear that he's Protestant because the rest is first and foremost. And then the works follow, but they don't get you there. And that he does this musically. The other example would be Brahms in his choral work, his sacred motets. For example, he has a magnificent motet called Warum, Why? And it's a musical study of the text of Job when he's at the depths of his suffering, and he says, basically, why did I have to be born? Why do the ones you bring into the world have to live in misery? And the opening ostinato in that motet is this unbelievably passionate two-chord repeated Warum. I mean, it takes a whole minute to say it. And you can hear, and Brahms, who was not an assured card-carrying Christian, though he operated in a Christian world, and I'm convinced he was a believer, had this question in his life: why? He was very moved by suffering, and a lot of his music was about that. And he walks you through, after the Warum section, to a couple of others. He reminds us of the patience of Job, and so on. And then he ends with the Luther's Te Deum, and you're totally assured at the end of that, but not by being given pat answers. So the second way I've tried to relate music to theology is that in my jazz band, we do a presentation, which we call Heaven in a Nightclub. And it takes you through the history of slavery and the music that was produced during slavery and after, and tries to show how the message of African American music is the gospel message, beginning with misery and ending with joy. So, of course, African American music is easy to do that with because it's so full of deep suffering and so full of joy, much of it, not all of it. So we actually illustrate this. We have a marvelous African American vocalist, Ruth Naomi Floyd, who grew up in the church, sings blues, gospel music, spirituals, and so we go through all of this to a given audience. Now, it doesn't mean that every time I sit down to listen to a piece of music, I think, oh, okay, how is this Christian, and am I okay with it? I listen with my heart and not just my head. But those are just a couple of ways to answer your question about how music relates to Christianity.